Hey friends, welcome back to Acre Homestead. Today is the first day that we're going to be out here and we're going to be planting starts in the ground. And I'm just excited. We're going to get out here, we're going to get our hands dirty. It's a beautiful day today. Oh, it's so nice. And let's just get our hands dirty, let's get in the dirt and let's do this. So what we're going to plant today is we have our onions. These are onions we started together and they look so healthy and beautiful. I have given them a haircut twice because they were probably about this tall, so they needed a haircut. And down here we've got some store-bought starts that I bought yesterday. We have some celery, some cabbage, and some kale. I wanted to go ahead and buy some store-bought stuff because some of my stuff didn't make it. Some is doing really well, but I wanted to make sure I had enough. I also bought these cute little pansies. We got a couple different colors. We're going to have some culinary uses for these. I bought some ranunculus. This is a flower that I follow a couple flower farmers and they all grow ranunculus, and I didn't get the corums in time to do them myself. So I wanted to get these. When I was in the store, I really checked the roots. These are really healthy white roots, but a lot of them didn't. So I went and I selected the ranunculuses that had the healthiest looking roots. We have some different kales that we started together. Over here are the cabbages and the celery that we started together. I have some celery that's a little bit farther along than this, but this is the tray I brought out today. That is some red cabbage starts that I purchased. And then up here I did buy some Walla Walla starts, and I bought some more cabbage and some kale starts. These are Copenhagen cabbage. The reason I bought some starts, even though we started a bunch of stuff together, is some stuff that I started did die. Some stuff is looking really well, but I want a combination of both stuff I started from seed indoors and store-bought, just so that I can try to guarantee myself a little bit better of a harvest this year, because I'm still learning the whole seed starting thing. That's a whole different thing than gardening outside. So just for a little extra insurance, that's why I bought some starts. I also have a ton of potatoes that I need to plant. If we get to it today, I'd be thrilled, but I just have a feeling we might not get to planting all these potatoes today. This is the bed that I want to plant cabbage, cauliflower, and kale in. And I put this cattle panel on here because my chickens were getting into my peas that I planted. This cattle panel worked perfectly, keeping my chickens out of my peas that I planted. And I'm going to go ahead and get that taken off so that we can prep this bed to start planting in. I'm going to remove all this leaf mulch that I put on this bed for the fall and winter. I put leaf mulch on my bed to keep the soil protected during the fall and winter when there's nothing planted in it. But I can't keep mulch on my beds once I put seedling starts out. You'll hear online and gardeners talk about how important mulch is to keep moisture in your soil, and it absolutely is. But because of where I live, we have so much rain. We have slugs. There are pests of choice around here, and slugs thrive in mulch. They live in mulch. And so if I keep this much mulch around my seedlings, they will get devoured by slugs. So I just have to be really good about watering my beds. So that's why I'm removing all this mulch. So I've mentioned this before. I'm not a garden planner, just like I don't menu plan. It's just not my style. Some people thrive in structure like that. I don't. But I think what we're going to do is we're going to see how many of the green and red cabbages we can fit in this bed. I have my square foot garden guide. I like to do square foot gardening. I can link this along with the book that goes along with this. It's a high intensity gardening plan. I do it that way because I garden in raised beds, and so my soil is a lot more nutrient dense than just in the ground. So you can kind of get away with planting a lot closer together. A way to try to save money when you're buying starts, because they can be kind of pricey, this 6-cell tray was $5, is look inside and see if you can find multiple plants in each cell. This one had 4, so that's a way that you're maximizing your money because you're not just getting 6 plants. I probably will count them when we're done, but we probably have at least 20 plants in that one 6-cell tray. See, right here we have 4 plants. So all you have to do, it's better if the soil is a little bit drier. I just watered these because they were looking really dry. Is you just carefully pull them apart, try to be gentle with the roots, and you're going to maximize your plants. So what I like to do is try to lay a few of them out before I start planting them, just to save me time. We ended up getting 16 red cabbages. I think I may have gone a little overboard on buying cabbage because I started a bunch of cabbage myself, but that's okay. I will find space for them. I'm just gonna put a few holes here before I even start planting. The green cabbage, there's definitely not as many in them as with the red cabbage. They didn't overseed them quite as much, so I'm not gonna get as many per 5 tray, but that's okay. This cabbage is called Bonnie's Best Hybrid. And I only have 6 of these. So periodically, as I get stuff planted, because we have this one bed completely done, I kind of reevaluate and I think, what am I doing? Where am I planting? I've gone through and what I think, so we have our garlic here. I think I'm gonna do my onions here next. So we'll do the garlic, onions together. And then I'll spread onions everywhere. Wherever onions can fit, they're gonna go everywhere. But I think in this bed right here, what we're gonna plant next, sorry, my neighbor's dog just came out to say hi. I'm thinking I'm gonna plant the celery along here. I do have some cilantro planted along this row, but I have so much cilantro planted everywhere that I'm gonna be okay if the cilantro comes up between the celery, I think, because I have cilantro along this bed, and along this bed. This is the celery that I purchased, but I also have quite a bit of celery that I started. So we're gonna plant this first. And last time I planted celery, I planted them pretty close together and it worked really well. So I'm gonna do the same thing. This was a gift from one of you, and I absolutely love it. It's kind of like a knife shovel. All the celery that I brought out today is now planted. I have about 6 more plants inside. I just didn't bring them out, so when I get a chance, I'll plant those as well. Now I am planting the rest of the cauliflower and cabbages. The tray that I'm working with here are the cabbages that we started together indoors, and I was picking through the ones that looked the healthiest and planting those.
These are the kale plants that I purchased, and I'm getting these planted here at the end. Kale will be in the ground all season long. So I was trying to think of a place for them where I'd be happy with them just hanging out all season long. In my zone, which is 8B, they can actually overwinter, and my cabbages are only going to be in the ground until about July, and then I'll take those out of the ground and I'll plant something in their place. And so I went ahead and I put the kale right next to the echinacea.
So over here we have our cauliflower that I store bought. And then these are all the cabbages that I started from seed over here. And then we have some different kales that I planted here. And this is my echinacea that I planted last year that's coming back. Echinacea is a perennial, means it comes back every year. So that's pretty encouraging to see that come back there. So 2 beds done. What I'm gonna do now, along this side of this bed, I'm gonna plant Walla Walla onion starts that I purchased. These are onion plants, not sets. I can tell you the difference between an onion plant and an onion set. I'm gonna take these and I'm gonna plant them along the outside edge of this bed.
Onions are biannual, which means that they produce seed every 2 years. So when you put a seed in the ground, it's gonna produce a plant like this. And then what it does is it produces a set. Now when you plant a set, which is what these little bulbs are, the purpose of the set is to grow a lot of greens and produce seed so that it can grow a plant the following year. Sets are a lot easier to find than plants, but their goal in life is to not produce a big bulb onion like what we typically want in a garden, but is to produce a lot of greens and flower, which will ultimately produce seed. So if you want larger onions, I have personally found, and what research and reading has told me, is that it's best to plant an onion plant. So whether you start that from seed or you purchase that plant, you're going to get a larger onion, because the goal of that onion that year is to produce a big bulb so that it can overwinter and produce seed the following year.
I had to go inside and get a drink. It was getting a little bit warm and parched out here. So these are our Walla Walla onions. I'm pretty happy. Oh, they smell good. Let's see. Last year, the ones I bought did the best. I think I planted the ones that I started outdoors last year way too soon. I did a whole video on that. I can link it down below. But I wanted to have some store-bought ones and ones I started, just to give myself a little bit of extra insurance on that.
The first year I planted onions, I planted the sets and they were no bigger than a quarter. And then last year, like I mentioned, I planted my onion starts too soon. And if you plant them too soon, you can mimic winter, and the onion thinks it's on its second year, so it'll go to seed and produce a flower instead of producing a big bulb.
We got all these Walla Walla onions planted. And I think what we're going to do now is we're going to start to get some of these onions planted. We have both 2 different varieties of red onions and 2 different varieties of white onions. I went ahead and prepped this bed. We're going to plant onions in here, and I prepped this whole bed, even though the only thing we're going to be planting in here is some lettuce right along here. I'm going to plant 3 different varieties of lettuce. The first one we're going to plant is one I got from Seeds from Generations. It's a tri-colored romaine. And then this is one I got just at the grocery store when they were on sale last year. It's just a romaine. And then this one is also a romaine from M.I. Gardner, and it's called a freckled romaine lettuce. I am really going to work hard on eating a lot more greens from the garden this year. Last year, we just did not eat that many greens from the garden because I didn't have time. I just did not have time to harvest and wash and prepare them. But this year, this is going to be a huge part of our diet. We're going to get a grill. We don't even own a grill. Josh and I have committed that this year we're going to go ahead and get a grill. And so we can have some nice grilled chicken with salad, or a nice steak with salad. And this is going to be a big goal for us this year. So I'm excited to get these in the ground. I do the cut and come again method when it comes to lettuce. I'll show you what that means when we come to harvesting our lettuce. But all I do is I plant them pretty densely. I'm just going to kind of make a little bit of a channel here. Nothing too precise. Then I'm gently going to sprinkle seeds in that channel. just like that. And then I'm going to fluff the dirt right over it, or soil, I should say. We're going to do that all the way down the length of this bed. I changed my mind. I figured, why would I go through the effort of doing just green and red when I was doing a tricolored anyway? So this first planting of lettuce is just this tricolored romaine from Seeds from Generations. You guys, I'm loving my seed organizer container. We did a whole video on this. Fantastic. I can link this down below. I definitely want to encourage you, if you guys have not started organizing your seeds this way, it's been such a help to me, because coming out into the garden, these are protected from water, because I'm going to be watering here in a little bit. And last year I got a lot of seeds wet because I would be out here watering without having my seeds protected. Feels so good to have seeds in the ground and to see things sprouting, to see 2 beds that are completely green. It's pretty exciting, and I'm glad you're here along with me on this journey. You know, half of what I do around here is just trial and error, and I appreciate you guys coming along and just I don't know, like taking time out of your day to spend time with me. Even though I'm no expert, we're just learning together, and I really appreciate that, and I appreciate you, so thanks for being here. So let's get these plants in the ground. One thing I experimented last year was planting radishes around my onions, and that did really, really well, because radishes, what does this say? This is a, well, it doesn't say, but it's usually only about a 24-day from seed to harvest, and that's a lot faster than it takes to grow an onion. So you can plant a radish, have it harvestable before it's gonna crowd out your onion, and that worked really, really well last year. I think this year, instead of doing it around my onions, I'm gonna go ahead and plant a few radishes around some of the cabbages that I planted. We don't eat a lot of radishes. The best way to eat them is sliced super, super thinly on a salad, or super thinly, quick pickle them and put them on tacos. And I'll show you how to do that when we go to make that. That's really, really good. And you know, maybe I'll make more of that this year than I did last year, because it is actually really good on tacos. And so let's go ahead and get this planted. What I'm trying to do is maximize my garden space. Just like all of us, we want to try to grow, you know, we all want to try to grow as much as possible in the space that we're given. And so that is why I'm doing this. I think it's a great way to maximize my space. I'm not super precise about it. Radishes are one of those really, really easy things to grow. They're not super particular. The last thing we're going to do is get these onions planted. These are the Walla Wallas here, and then these are Red Carpet. These are a hybrid that I got from Johnny Seeds, I believe. These are Rosa Red, and then I lost the tag on these ones. I think this is Patterson. I'd have to look back to see what I planted, but I think these are Patterson. We're gonna get all these onions planted in this bed here. This is where the seeding square really comes in handy when you're planting something needs to be planted closer together. A 1-foot spacing is pretty easy to eyeball, so I just kind of use this as a guide. But when I'm planting something that needs to be pretty close together, my seeding square comes in handy pretty well. First little bit, I'm going to plant flowers along this edge, so I need to leave this edge clear, just like I did last year. So I'll leave, I don't know,
So I've been on a journey with onions, and my goal eventually is to grow very large onions every year. One thing I did do differently this year than I did last year when trying to start onions from seed is, instead of taking individual seeds and planting them in individual cells and taking up a lot of space under my grow lights, this year I filled an entire tray. That tray is just one solid thing of soil, and I sprinkled hundreds and hundreds of seeds right on top of that soil, and then I just covered it with a little bit of extra soil, and I grew all my onions in one tray. And that is so easy. I will not go back to trying to individually seed my onions again. This just worked really well. Onions kind of break apart really easily, and I am planting them pretty intensely. I'm planting every 2 inches. When I looked up how far to plant onions apart, it said between 2 and 4 inches. So I decided to go with the more intensive planting. I did top dress this bed with some pretty good compost in the fall before I put the leaf mulch on it, and I let that sit all fall. I do plan to fertilize these onions as the season progresses as well. Onions are pretty heavy feeders, which just means they take a lot of fertilizer.
It is starting to get late and I got this far with the onions. I still have 3 more varieties to plant to finish out this bed, but we are going to just call that good. I did add a few onions between some of our cabbages in here. I'm thrilled with the progress we've made in the garden today. We did not quite get to planting any of our flowers out, which is no big deal. That's the fun part to me. So what I want to do is try to push through. I mean, all of it's the fun part to me, but that's when you start to see color in the garden instantly when you go out and you buy a couple flats of flowers. So that's pretty exciting. So I just want to say thank you for taking time out of your day to spend time with me. Oh my goodness, it's starting to rain. I don't know if you can hear that, which is perfect. I was about to pull the hose out and we were about to water everything, but if it's going to rain, we don't have to worry about that. Water from the sky is the best thing. I better get my basket with seeds out of the rain. I'm going to let the rain take care of these onions here. They could use a drink of water and I don't have to worry about that. The seeds that we planted will get a nice drink. So if you guys enjoyed this, please give this a thumbs up. If you're new around here, please consider subscribing. I'll put some videos up here you can go enjoy between now and my next upload. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. Can't wait to see you next time. Bye guys.